Winter is coming. Catch you inside. RevelatorAlf. Hello, welcome to RevelatorAlf. Hope you're enjoying the channel and the series of videos. Don't forget to subscribe, like and share, and check out the website RevelatorAlf.com. So in this video, it's the temperature is dropping, winter is approaching. If you want to store your motorcycle over winter, if you want to winterize it, then this is the video for you. I'm going to run through all the do's and don'ts of how to store your motorcycle safely and securely throughout the winter, if you're not riding it, that is. Right, let's get into it. Okay, so rule number one is, well, as you can see, my bike's a bit dirty, but before you actually store the motorcycle, give it a thorough wash. Go through every part of the bike, give it a really good wash and a really good polish. That's what you want to do. You want to store your motorcycle clean. You don't want it dirty. You don't want anything attached to the motorcycle that could corrode it over the winter. So dirt contains abrasives, corrosives as well. So road grime can contain that as well. So you want to get rid of that on your bike. So give it a good wash and a good polish. Number two is apply any kind of moisture repellent on your motorcycle. That could be a product like ACF 50, but other countries have their own products. Just a moisture repellent, whatever the brand is, just spray it liberally over the bike, over the frame, over the engine parts as well. And remove the seat as well and get all underneath the seat and in the shock area as well. Just give your bike a thorough coating. Now, you don't have to pour gallons and gallons of the stuff on your bike. Say just a very thin coating over. So make sure you've washed your bike, polished it, and then go over it with a moisture repellent. Okay, so number three is if you've got a chain drive or you've got a shaft drive on your motorcycle, you want to thoroughly clean the chain and you want to lubricate it and wax it, whatever the case. And if you've got a shaft drive, you want to replace the oil in there as well. Just drain it and then replenish it. Okay, number four, you want to give your bike a really good service, and what I mean by that is service the oils. So drain the engine oil, drain the transmission oil and the primary oil in the case of a Harley Davidson, of course, and what you want to do is just replace those, put new oils or new fluids in there. The same can be said for any coolant that you have on the motorcycle as well. You could drain it out and then replenish it to the correct pH. But that's up to you. Okay, so number five is any of your cables. If you've got cable operated throttle or clutch cable as well, just give those a thorough lubing as well with WD-40 or any kind of lubricating oil. Okay, so number six is you want to take care of your seat or seats. Give them a vinyl conditioner. You can buy these creams that will keep them supple. You don't have to do this, of course, but if you're dealing with extreme temperatures, no matter where you are in the world, you may want to wrap up the seat and also say giving it some kind of oil or some kind of conditioner just to keep it soft and supple throughout the winter months. It's not essential, but it really depends where you are in the world. Okay, so number seven is to prevent corrosion inside your tank. So what you need to do is fill it up to the brim and add a stabilizer. There's a picture there for you, and there's a link in the description as well. Now, what this does, it basically prevents any kind of moisture within the tank to corrode, and also any ethanol within your fuel as well to corrode as well. So it's something that say if you're going to leave your bike for a long period of time, you want to prevent that corrosion. Add a stabilizer and make sure it filled to the brim as well. Also run the bike a little bit so that stabilized fuel is through your injection process as well, through carburetors, and then come back and top it back up again. Okay, so number 8, you want to protect the cylinders for any condensation buildup and any potential corrosion. Now, I was going to say this is not strictly something that you absolutely need to do, but some people would say that you really should do it. Now, there are two ways of doing it. You can either add a fogging oil, which has come through an aerosol can. I'll leave the picture there and a link in the description for you as well. Or you just, and what you do, you take off the spark plugs and you just squirt a little bit inside the cylinders. The other option is just get some engine oil and you just squirt a few times into the cylinder, the top of the cylinders there, and just leave it. Number 9, battery care. Now, there are two ways of doing this. You can either totally disconnect the battery and remove the battery from your motorcycle and then just keep it charged on a bench somewhere, or you can buy a trickle charger or a battery tender, depending on which name you want to use, and that is just connected to your bike, connected to your battery, and that will just keep it charged over winter, and it just keep it in tip-top condition as well. Okay, so number 10, you want to try and keep your motorcycle wherever possible in a dry place, in a garage, in a shed, something like that. That is as free from moisture as possible. That is obviously the optimum conditions. Now, you want to cover your motorcycle in a blanket or something like that, a sheet, or certainly cover it with a breathable cover. You don't want something which the moisture will condense underneath and it's not unable to evaporate off. So you need breathable covers. But this is storing a motorcycle inside a garage or something like that. That is always relatively dry. Just keep the dust off it and just keep a breathable cover over it so it's got able to breathe so moisture can evaporate off. Now, number 11, if you're storing the motorcycle outside, then what you need to do, there are two options for you. You can either have a waterproof cover over it, which is also going to be breathable, but don't put blankets on it, because blankets will absorb moisture and that moisture will stay on the bike for a lot longer and that can lead to corrosion. So what you need to do is just leave off the blankets and just keep a breathable cover over it. Now, the other option is to store your motorcycle outside with a breathable cover, but also it's beneath a shelter of some kind. Let's say a lean-to or a carport or something like that. So that's the other option. Now, one of the final things you want to do is block your exhaust end from any rodents or any other small animals from crawling up in there and making a nest of any kind. So there's a picture there for you of what you can get, an exhaust plug, and I'll leave a link in the description for you as well. Now, one of the reasons that you put your motorcycle battery on a battery tender or trickle charger is that it's always kept in optimum condition. If you haven't got it linked up to a battery charger, the last thing you want to do is just start up your motorcycle for 5 minutes, just get everything running there in the belief that you're going to charge the battery. In fact, you'll actually end up draining the battery. So if you're going to start up the bike, you need to take it for a ride, a good half an hour ride, and that will give the battery a really good charge. So make sure you do it on a winter's day, on a dry day, where your bike isn't really going to be affected by the contaminants on the road. Now, if you're not going to ride your bike around at all during the winter months and wherever you're storing it, what you need to do is periodically, let's say once a week, once a fortnight, is get the bike upright and move the bike forwards and backwards. Maybe just turn it around. Don't start the engine, no need to do that. What you're doing is just making sure that the brakes are not binding and that the wheels are going to be moving as well. It's just keeping everything lubricated as well. Your front suspension with the fork seals, your rear suspension with those shock seals as well. Just making sure that everything is still working, everything is still lubricated as it were, and nothing is binding. Now, the other thing about moving your motorcycle as well is that your tyres aren't resting in one position for 6 months of the year. So you're actually distributing the pressure, you're distributing the pressure over the tyre, or the resting pressure over the tyre as well. So you're giving it even wear. So move the bike around, move the position of the tyres, that will be resting on the surface. Now, another option that some people may suggest, I certainly wouldn't, is to have your motorcycle on a stand of some sort and just raise the bike off the ground, raise the wheels off the ground so the motorcycle weight isn't resting on the suspension and the tyres and wheels. I don't think that is necessary, but some people think that that is appropriate. You would think that's the best thing to do, but actually the best thing really is just to periodically move the bike around and then just make sure that the suspension is working every now and again by just sitting on it, making sure that everything is still working. If you take all the weight off the motorcycle for a long time, then it's just going to be in a static position for that 6-month period or whatever it is, and that's something that you want to try and avoid. You still want to keep the bike moving throughout that period if you possibly can. Okay, so another top tip here is to add a vapor barrier between your motorcycle and the floor or the surrounding walls as well. Now that doesn't mean that you actually cover your motorcycle in plastic sheeting, for example, or cardboard, but the surrounding area you do, let's say the walls or the floor. One of the reasons for this is that you're trying to prevent moisture getting near to the motorcycle or transferring up from the tyres, from the floor through the tyres and then onto the bike. I don't necessarily think this is absolutely necessary, but it really depends where you're storing your motorcycle. If you're storing it in a shed, for example, a garden shed, this might be beneficial to a certain degree, but you say you're not really dealing with airtight structure there, so it's going to have a minimal effect, if anything, but it may help. So cardboard, plastic sheeting, not on the motorcycle, but in the surrounding structure, may help to minimize the amount of moisture coming into the environment where the motorcycle is being stored. Now finally, this is something that has a marginal effect, but you may want to consider it as well. It really depends how much moisture you think is going to be in and around the motorcycle. And that is just to have a large bowl of salt, yes, salt, just on the floor next to the motorcycle, and that will help to absorb any surrounding moisture. It's going to have a marginal effect, and it's going to be exactly the same in many ways as the vapor barrier by the cardboard or the plastic sheeting. All you're trying to do is just minimize the amount of moisture that is going to be resting on the motorcycle. But if you're storing your motorcycle outside, this isn't going to work. If you're storing your motorcycle in a garden shed, for example, that's not really going to work as well. You really need to be storing it in a relatively dry space first of all, and then you want to try and suck out as much moisture as possible. But as I say, I wouldn't necessarily do this myself, but there is logic in the reasoning. How effective it will be is marginal at best. So there we go. That's how you store your motorcycle throughout the winter months if you're not going to be riding it predominantly. If you are going to occasionally take out your motorcycle throughout the winter months on those dry sunny days, then make sure that you go through this checklist again once you restore the motorcycle as well. Give it a thorough clean, reapply some moisture repellent, connect up the battery, make sure that everything is stored correctly, and you should be good to go when the weather improves, spring arrives, and those roads need to be ridden. Right, don't forget to subscribe, like and share, check out the website RevelatorAlf.com, and I'll catch you again on the next video. Ta-da!